your life. It's too late. It's too late.
No, we have a delay. See.
It got you started at 3.
See.
We are live, so apparently we don't know how to count.
I counted just fine.
All right, so we're gonna give it a few minutes. The tweets have gone out, the Facebook posts have been posted, and we will now wait a few minutes for some other people to join us. Otherwise, we're going to do this alone, and that's okay.
And just talk.
Oh, wow.
Hey, if no one shows up, then I can go on tangents. And that's
No
exciting.
singing, you're gonna get us in trouble.
You can't be doing that.
You're gonna get us in so much trouble. All right, well, we are Long Box Diving, and I am D. This is,
Jay.
and that is, and we are here for your amusement.
Well,
Pure entertainment.
my amusement.
We are a pure entertainment. We are a comedian troupe where we add. No, just kidding. We actually do comics. We love comics. We have so many comics on the back issue. I mean, I have 6 short boxes, a shipping box, a stack of comics, and a long box sitting over here that we still need to review with people.
And a couple in there.
And I have a stack on my desk that, we're going to actually be talking about House of X, Powers of X, but I figured while I'm waiting for people to show up, I can just kind of flip through some of the stuff I got just recently. Jay got some stuff today, and I picked up some stuff at a flea market, and there's some good stuff. All right, so we're going to go through this real quick while we're waiting, and we have Thor. This is one of Jay's picks up.
All of mine came straight from the comic book store.
Yes, and he spent a lot of money. All right.
Nah.
Thor 235. Thor 333. And 475. So he picked up all these stuff, and he's probably going to be having a pull list video coming up soon with those.
Yeah, all of mine were half off, and then one was free, so I ended up spending like $4.
Nice. All right, so these were all like $1 stuff. Supervillains. The Secret Society of Supervillains, number 14.
Oh, yeah, we spent like an hour in there.
Batman, number 302. Look at that. Batman 302. Batman 311. Look at that. Ooh, got some good stuff here. And it's just, Cole, number 1.
Number 1.
Warlord, number 3. It's not the great condition, but man, there's got some good stuff here. Dial H for Hero. Green Lantern, Green Arrow. So man, we grabbed so much stuff. So at some point, probably the next stream, we will do a full review because we've only gone through a couple, and I need to get these sorted and rearranged and put into boxes so they're no longer sitting next to my desk. All right, so hopefully everybody's here for House of X, Powers of X.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to do a little bit of a review. We're going to do a lot of theories because we have lots of theories, especially this one right here.
Healthy dose of tinfoil.
He has lots and lots of theories. And basically, we wanted to go through this through the timeline. I know most of you have seen the timeline. It is in issue House of X, something number 2. And then there's a second one, which actually covers life 9 and 10 in more detail. So we're going to try to go through this review theory thing through the timeline and kind of see what we can see. So let me pull this up real quick. And here is the first timeline. Now, as we were sitting here discussing this pre-video, we noticed something. And we don't know if it's just us looking for something that isn't there or is there, or we don't know if it actually is there.
This entire run has things that seem like they shouldn't be anything, but they are.
Yeah, I've heard people talk about colors. The colors mean something, and the different colors between the different X0, X1, and this and that, and the different colors here and the different colors there. And it's there's so much stuff. There's so many different things that we like. Is it really something or is it not something? So something as we sat here, Jay and I don't know about so much Ethan or E back here, but we see a lot of things in pattern, and when we look at something, we see a lot of patterns. And when patterns stick out, we wonder why the pattern stuck out. Why is that pattern that way? And if you look at this this chart, all right, you see that life 1 goes down into this inner circle and then comes back up. Life 1 is the original life of Mora. And that center point is the fulcrum. Her mutant manifestation happens at 13 years old. Apparently, it happens at 13 every single time.
Every time.
And that if, for some reason, she was killed before that time, the idea would be, there would be no other life. Then time would go on with whatever that timeline is, and everything would go on. So she wouldn't be able to affect that possible outcome of that last timeline. She would die before 13, and it's over. She wouldn't be able to affect it. She wouldn't be able to help. She wouldn't be able to do anything. It would be what it was. So as you look at this, you actually see that inner circle has rings that go under it and rings that go over the inner circle. And you can see life 2 goes under the inner circle. Life 3 goes over the inner circle. Life 4 goes under. Life 5 goes under. It looks like life 6 will be going either over or under.
I think it's safe to say it. Well, no, because it 8, for example, just goes over, even though it could go under.
Are we spoiling?
So I don't know. I don't know.
We're not spoiling it.
Well, technically yes, but what did you walk into?
Yeah, this is a full-on review. So,
that's something else I want to talk about, but we'll get to that.
I'm trying to find where you took a picture of the other.
Was it in the book?
Yeah, so 6. I don't think even the one that you took of black and white doesn't actually go into the 6 timeline, right? So
yeah, no.
Look at this. Let's rotate this a little bit. So yeah, even this doesn't have the 6 timeline. So all right, so we don't know which way the 6 is going to go. So, but looking at this, we've noticed that certain ones go above the inner circle and certain ones go below the inner circle. And we're wondering, why would that be? Now, Jay, what's your theory?
I'm looking for any correlation between 8, 10, and 3, right? And I don't know. The more I think about it, because 7's it wasn't just because she was doing murderous stuff. Because 7,
so the first idea we came up was evil, right? She did something evil versus good, but
yeah, I don't know.
10 goes up and 8 goes up.
But 7 doesn't.
But 7 doesn't, and we know specifically she was killing people in 7. No, 7 goes down, and then 4 or 3 or 4. 3, she tries to cure all mutants, right? So there's a lot of different things in this list that we don't, we don't know. What is this, Ethan? What's your idea on this theory? Do you have a theory?
Well, all of them. It's not the involvement of mutants, because all of them are mutants.
Well, my shoulder.
Maybe not all the involvement of mutants. I was thinking the one thing I did notice, and I don't know if it has anything to do with it or not, but one thing I did notice is that life 3, life 7, and life 9. Was it 9? No, 10. So life 3 goes up, and she was actually killed by a mutant.
Yeah.
All right. She was killed by a mutant. She was killed by Destiny Mystique. Because she tried to cure the mutant race. Then you have life 8. Now, in the book, it says that Magneto was taken down by his own, which would mean, to me, that would mean, hey, Perry, how you doing? Which to me would mean mutants.
Yeah.
So
that was part of it.
So Mora in life 7 was murdered by or killed by mutants. and not voluntarily. Now we notice in Life 9 goes, or Life 6 is not in there. We don't know what she's going to do with that. Life 9, we do know that she was murdered by Wolverine, but that was voluntarily. I mean, she voluntarily did that. So does that, could it be that being murdered by mutants go up and being voluntarily killed or old age or whatnot goes down?
Well, we can't prove 10 yet.
Can't prove 10. But if this is true, right? If it's true, then that means 10 is going to end with her being murdered by a mutant involuntarily.
If it's only 2, that means it's more likely a coincidence than a pattern.
But
the opposite is also true. All the ones going down are her not being murdered by mutants intentionally or unintentionally. Right. So you see the kind of rabbit trails that we end up on here, just starting off with this, going, does this have anything to do with what may happen in the future? So Just Rican is here for free comics. Hey, Just Rican, there is no free comics this week. If you come back, hopefully on our 200 sub, we'll have more free comics. But Just Rican, you should have gotten yours, and I think Perry, yours is in the mail. You should get that. I think Monday is what they said.
The thing is, you can say that all of the lives going down are just because she didn't eat ice cream in those lives.
Yeah, but they don't specifically bring that up.
I know, but it's not being killed by mutants unintentionally is the same as the ice cream.
That's true. I say it's just a theory, but it does pertain to something. If it's true, then that means the 10th life could end in her being killed by a mutant involuntarily. Right? He may, take it down, edit it, put it back up on your channel. That's fine. I don't mind. But yes, Perry, it is free content. I do not charge. You can come and watch this for free. That is fine with me. So as we got into this, we got into the mini lives of Moira, and I think the whole pattern of what he's trying to do kind of revolves around this. Wouldn't you say, Jay?
Yeah, I don't know. It's just trying to figure out if this actually is anything, if it means anything, or if it's just a coincidence. But
do all of these circles match up with the rest of the books? Are all of those circles the same in every book, or do they change?
Yeah, no, they're the same.
They're the same in the 2. There's only 2 timelines.
Well, there's 3. Well, 4.
I haven't seen 4.
Yeah, because you get several.
You can find them for me. That'd be great. I only know of 2. One has this colorful, which goes to the first, basically 8 lives without 6, and then you have a second one that's kind of black and whites everything else out, and then covers 9 and 10. But we don't even see an actual timeline for 6 that I know of. Yeah. So you need to be looking at those, see if we can find a second timeline. So this is why it's good to have helpers on your streams.
I wouldn't say helpers.
Yeah, you helped me a lot. You are so helpful.
Oh.
Yeah. All right. So in these timelines, we see that, one, and most of these timelines occur in Powers of X 2, right? I believe it's Powers of X 2. House of X2. Let me check.
House 2's over here.
Yeah, I think it's House of X2. So let me hand me that real quick. All right, so in this one here, let me go back to my...
Almost all of them on that one.
So almost all the timelines occur in this book. All right. I don't know if you got this. I know Rod didn't get it, but when Rod gets his trade paperback, he'll be able to see all these like the rest of us. But yeah, all the lives, basically most of the lives occur in House of X number 2. And in House of X number 2, we see that Moira's born. She lives a life. She marries a guy. They have babies. She becomes a grandma, all this kind of stuff. And then she dies. And then she's reborn, reincarnated, and actually has all her memories. And she goes into life number 2. Right. And in life number 2, her life is pretty much not much happens, right? She decides not to marry the guy she was married to first time around. Now, that I don't know if that tells us anything, but if maybe some of you out there can think about this, if you're reincarnated and you got it to do it all over again, would you marry the same person again? Or would you do what Moria did and decide, hey, I'm going to try this life differently?
I don't know if you could now that you know all of their problems and that they're never going to change.
That might be rough. Well, all the problems, but you already loved them, right?
But,
or
hey,
did you not love them?
But
by the end?
you know all of their problems. There's nothing that you have to work through already.
Or did she decided she didn't want another 70-something years of the same thing?
Yeah, there's nothing in house.
All right. So in this timeline, she decides not to marry Kenneth Cohen. She ends up enrolling in Oxford at 16 years old because, though she's smart, she's not necessarily a super genius. It's just the fact that she's had 74 years of experience and education where she's able to come back and she already knows all this stuff, right? So she gets a leg up on all that. Yeah, I know. You get to watch this and then go read the trade. And now I heard a rumor about the trade, Rod, that you might be able to sort the trade, at least I think the digital one. You might be able to sort that in chronological order and then resort it into reading order so that way you could read it in the 2 different ways. I don't know. That'd be cool. I may actually buy it myself so I can try it, reading it. Not just the way it has in the list on the back of these books, but to actually read it in a chronological order as well. That might make more sense to me.
And who knows? It might have different information.
It might have different information. Now, honestly, that's one of my things I have to say that I did not like about the book. Is that I did not like the fact that it was 2 separate series.
The books. 2
separate books. To me, you could have put it all under one title, had it run the same way. Under the one title, and then that would have been cool, and I would have known any different. But I think it may have turned off some people to see. Oh, I have to collect 2 separate titles.
2 separate titles.
I mean, what's the difference between Power and House?
It's meant, I think, to keep people from being confused when reading it. Is your Powers of X are not your House of X timeline. House of X timeline is pretty straightforward. This is what you're looking at.
Yeah, House of X is life 10.
Powers of X is branching off.
House of X is life 10. Mm-hmm. Powers of X is all these other things that they're filling in and playing around with.
Which, if you put it all under one title, it probably would have confused some people of, oh, we're in the future now? What happened?
Yeah, but still, Powers of X was kind of confusing because you're flipping through X0 to X1 to X2 to X3, and you're going here to going there, and it's all over the place. So she comes back in life 2. She becomes a professor. She founds the Muir Research Institute, and then she dies in a plane crash.
Looking for Xavier.
Was she looking for Xavier?
Yep. She realized there was a term for what she was.
No, she realized that's the timeline. She realized she's a mutant. If you did not know that, surprise.
I think you mean spoilers.
Well, spoiler, we said that earlier. Again, if you're on this, you're going to get spoiled because this is a review and theories. There's lots of information that we're going to try to cover.
Unless we're doing the Joker.
And we may go a long time. She figures out she's a mutant, right? How else would you explain being born and remembering being in your mom's womb and realizing for 9 months?
That's a weird dream.
With a full-grown adult brain stuck in your mom's womb.
It's a weird dream.
That would be terrifying. I think I would actually come out a little crazy. But she did it 10 times. 9 times, because the first time she doesn't remember.
She talked about that. She was like, it may make normal people go crazy, but it was actually very comforting to her.
She's crazy. But obviously we're going to get to that point where I think she's kind of crazy. And then so she goes in the next timeline. Timeline 3. She hits 13, and then she enrolls in Oxford again at 16. And then she goes a long time, and then at 28, she founds the Muir Research Institute. Again, she is now 3 years earlier than the original timeline of founding Muir.
So, well, something that's interesting to me is she went from Life 2 trying to find out more about Xavier to Life 3 she just didn't like Xavier and decided to find a cure for what ailed her.
Well, I think in here,
Which is just an odd jump for me, like, to think about.
all right. So in Life 2, she meets him at Oxford,
Yeah.
right? So she does meet him earlier, and she just kind of
I
decides.
mean, she meets him in Life
Life
2.
1.
No, not in Life 1. She never met him in Life 1.
I could have sworn.
No,
So,
not
yeah.
Life 1, but she didn't. She did, and she wondered if there was running others like her in the world, ruining it right alongside her. Then she saw a man on the television, someone she had met in school.
Yeah.
So she had met him before in Life 2, and then she flew to go find him because I am a mutant. He said on TV she could go find him, and then she kind of crashed and died in the ocean, right? And then she comes back. In Moria's third life, she aggressively dove into the life of science, and she realigned her areas of interest to focus on anthropology and genetics, and actively sought out Charles Xavier when they were both at Oxford. And then she knew that he was hiding what she already knew, that he was a mutant, though he may have not realized it. But the combination of their distaste of her natural abilities, along with the arrogance of Xavier's ideas, and that she finally decided, hey, I can't take this.
Which is really funny because...
Eric, I'm glad you stopped by for a little bit, man. I appreciate it. And have a good one.
Which is really funny because she goes from Life 3 looking at Xavier, who is on the low end of the people who think mutants are superior, to Life 10. Like, that's a long jump. She thinks Xavier has a god complex. She hasn't met Apocalypse yet.
Yeah, Magneto, Apocalypse. She hasn't met nobody yet. But can you kind of understand it?
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
she had, if mutants were hated, and then she got that in her first life too. You know, when she hit older, she realized what mutants were, and I mean, nothing changed from her first life, second life. I mean, Xavier still did the television thing.
Yeah.
She didn't change anything, so she may have known about mutants in a first life, in a sense.
Which, like, presuming her not being there didn't change things radically. Like, she still would have seen mutants being hunted down on television or something. She lived to 70.
Right.
So she would have heard all about that in the news if it didn't change drastically.
Right. So, yeah, in her third life, she ends up becoming a geneticist. She creates a cure for being a mutant, for something that wasn't really a disease. She found a cure for it. She wanted to use that cure, and that's when all hell kind of breaks loose. And Mystique and Destiny kind of come for her and basically say, hey, we can't let you do this. They also figured out, one, that she is a mutant that cannot be seen. She's like she's an invisible mutant.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. That's it. Just, yeah.
They when Destiny couldn't see her.
Destiny couldn't see her. Destiny's like, she's a hole in reality. But like many other things, if you realize what should be there and you don't see it, then you can see what's not there by knowing that's not there, should be there. So it's kind of a reverse sight in a sense. But she basically says, hey, your mutant power is reincarnation. But I can look at you and I can tell basically if you live right, you might have 10 to maybe 11 lives. But we're not going to let you do this again, because just killing you is going to make you reincarnate and you can just try this all over again. But we will not let you do this again. You have to understand this. You need to find a different path. And so they end up killing her. And, Pyro kind of blows things up and she dies. And she's murdered by a mutant.
Oh, they kill her so slow.
Involuntarily. Yeah, they fry her.
Like a rotisserie chicken.
We want you to remember this.
Yeah.
This is messed up.
That's brutal. And now, if you don't harbor feelings against the woman who fried you in a chair, I would.
So this is something that is interesting to me. Is later on, like, Destiny's brought up again. Why hasn't Destiny just talked to Mystique every single timeline and seen the future, presuming at any point in the 50 years, and seen what would happen to Mystique?
Hmm?
So now that's really not making sense for things later.
Well, I mean, you have to remember there's Destiny's Diaries. There's a bunch of stuff that we don't know about Destiny. There's a lot of plot threads that we don't know about Destiny. But then again, once the thing resets, Destiny doesn't. None of them remember what she knew or didn't know.
Yeah. So Destiny can just come in contact with any of them and see the future,
Right.
and it'll be the future.
Which is why something happens later. Why part of the reason that So now we get into the fourth timeline, and in the fourth timeline, she tries something new. Right? She tried to cure being a mutant, and now she realizes maybe curing being mutant is not the best plan, and so she's going to do something a little bit different, more like a militarized extremist.
This is Life 4.
Yeah, this is where she takes.
No.
I'm sorry, you're right.
Yeah.
This is Peaceful Life.
Yeah, this is like classic X-Men. Like this is
so, and that's what we were kind of discussing, right?
Yeah.
So this is what we remember as X-Men stories was in the fourth life, right?
Mm-hmm. So the old school original 5.
Old school where her and Xavier get together and they have the original X-Men get formed, and then
I vaguely remember this, and I don't know where
this is where the Phoenix Force splits.
And it splits into all 5 of them.
What's this?
And Namor's there as well. Ilya Rasputin, Cyclops, Frost, and Colossus.
I'm like, I vaguely remember that being a thing. I just
we missed a lot of that. So that's kind of all those old stories are fit into that fourth life, right? But what happens in the fourth life? Sentinels.
Yeah.
Right, Sentinels come.
Pew, pew, pew.
Pew, pew, pew. They're dead. And thus ends the fourth life of Maria McTaggart. As you see, fourth goes down. She was not killed by mutants. She was killed by humans that time. Yeah, involuntarily, yes, but not a mutant.
Which can we presume the fourth life is then the like where it's Wolverine and Kitty Pryde out in the future hiding from Sentinels?
It might be. There might be. And then there's the fifth life. So in Maria McTaggart's fifth life, she decided that aggression was the only acceptable response to the violent tendencies of man. Now, I mean, literally, they just killed her with Sentinels. I mean, can you not understand why she would okay, fine.
At this point, she's fed up, and then she goes, at the age of 13, after she gets her
on a plane.
She goes and meets baby Xavier, who looks like Mr. Clean.
He does, doesn't he? And now, and here, this is something that their Moira sought out Charles in almost a full decade before they were supposed to meet at Oxford. And she opens her mind to him for the first time, and he sees all that she has experienced in her first 4 lives, and he saw how his dream had failed, and the experience radicalized him.
She only opened her mind once.
This is the first time she did it, and she only did it again late in the 10th life.
Yeah.
That we know of. And it radicalized him here. But it didn't in the 10th life?
This one, I don't know if we can say this one was like war. I think Xavier at this point was just hiding. And he brought all the mutants here, but like they weren't actively. Well,
so instead of a school of
yet.
Mutants, he gathered a legion. He built a city full of his man's evolutionary betters, and and the walls held the world outside back until the machines of Oliver Trask came for the mutants again, and they destroyed them again.
See, yeah, Xavier just wasn't radical enough for Moira. Moira wanted
at this point, he was pretty radical. Because she says he radicalized. But then again,
his radical is let's go hide in the base out in the desert.
But I don't think it was too much for her yet.
No, yeah, she was already past him. She wanted to go attack humans, right?
Yeah, but she hasn't changed yet in my mind.
Yeah.
And that's when we get to the 6th life. Yeah, once is all it takes. It's true.
I didn't guess. I just read.
All right, so then we got to the 6th life. Now, the 6th life occurs mostly what we see is in Powers of X, and it's called the Ascension line. So X3, and we really don't see most of her life through the 6th life. We only see 1,000 years at the end of her 6th life. Again, this is spoilers, so. If you have not read,
want to document like 1,000 years.
Can you imagine 1,000 year documentation of 1,000 years of history? And so, I mean, but there's some things that we've noticed that were symbolized in the two different timelines. Now, I don't have the other book where they meet, but there is the tower. And we see this tower in the tarot cards. We see the tower in when
That's
they
Power of
and the powers that when we see the towers when they bring the power frost to Krakoa. We see the tower. We see the tower again in Powers of X6 in the tarot card. We see the tower in many different places, and then the tower is in the future in X3. We see that tower standing there, and that is where Nimrod is, right? So,
well, no, he wasn't. Like that was the Church of Ascendancy in Life 9, wasn't it?
it was the Church of Ascendancy in Life 9. I think Nimrod was in the tower. I don't know if
No,
I have to look at it again. But then we get to the library of mutants. Looks like it was not in the tower because he walks out onto the balcony, looks over toward the preserve, and there's the tower and there's the preserve.
Yeah.
So it looks like we're now in the Sixth Life. We're actually somewhere in Krakoa.
Maybe. Which part of Krakoa though? Because you have Krakoa Atlantic and Krakoa Pacific.
There's like 3 Krakoa islands. I don't know, but I think it's the Krakoa in the Atlantic, the big one.
Do we have a map of Krakoa somewhere?
I know there's
We
one in
do.
there's one in the final book as well.
Yeah. Like this should be the most complete one.
No, it doesn't. But it doesn't necessarily say the.
I'm just looking. Did you see it?
Oh, there's one. Okay, this is not as filled in. All right, so this is what the island looks like, right? Okay, wait. There's the island. All right.
Can you check Last House of X, Ethan?
All right. So
I
in here
that is
is
last.
the Red Keep,
That's 6.
No, that would be the last map. That'd be the latest map.
the Oracle. I'm not sure what the name of it is. The tower.
Exactly.
The Oracle, the Grove, the Cradle, the Reservoir, the Wild Hunt. Yeah, so I'm not sure.
The towers, like it's always like something with Ascension. Is
Yeah, it had to do with it has to do with the tower and the Ascension. But it also may have been, and I heard this theorized, that tower also may have been a signal boost for the mutant minds. The Cradle. That it may have been the Cradle. That's what where the mines are stored.
it's like that is one of the cradles, yeah.
So that was one of the cradles. But if that's where the tower was, where it was the signal boost for Cerebro to get out and actually store all the mutant information there as the first place, and then to spread out, and there are 5 backups.
Maybe.
So that may be the cradle, may be the tower there. But again, we see that in that the librarian comes out and he's looking over the preserve. Now, what we find out, and we see the tower, so that it may be the Krakoan island.
You can probably go through and rule out a lot of the we're only tying this to Emma Frost seeing it on Krakoa.
Yes.
If it's the same one. But you can probably go through those locations and mark off, like it's not House of X, it's not House of M, it's not Arbor Magna. That's the Great Tree. So,
which we see as well in the Ascension storyline, the Ascension part of it, that when after the Elder gets absorbed by the Phalanx, the librarian comes and talks to little Nimrod, and it looks like the tree.
and which one?
Powers of X.
Yeah, in the future.
After the Elder gets absorbed by the Phalanx, the librarian walks in with little Nimrod, and the room they walk into to discuss strongholds and dominions and all that looks like the Arbor Room, the council chambers.
This one, I think.
Give us a second as we start throwing through this and figure this out.
Welcome to our tangents.
Yep, here it is, right here.
That was quick.
See?
I mean, that is a metal tree, yeah.
That is a tree. That looks like the tree, but not as healthy. Let's flip
No,
this around.
that's a metal tree, totally.
Yeah, look at this. Look at this tree. All right.
It's like what happened to the humans.
All right. So could that be Krakoa's tree?
I'd be willing to I mean, again, it's a stretch, it's a leap, but with them with the mutants themselves working on bio engineering, I would not be surprised the humans were working on bioengineering in this timeline specifically. I would not be surprised.
Yeah, but you don't have to go that far out on the limb to say it.
But again, it's just a tree.
It is. Well, it's a tree in a room.
Yeah.
It could be the tree on Krakoa. We're seeing the tower. We see the tree. I don't know. Did they set up there? But so we go through the ascendancy. They've created a Nimbus, which was a world mind.
Yeah.
They actually sent a Nimrod Nimrod's in a shell, so a Nimbus in a shell of a Nimrod, and they sent it out and to a planet or a Nimbus planet, and that Nubius, I think is the name of the planet, and it ate the planet and became a big world mine, and that's really kind of what attracted the Phalanx. The Phalanx shows up. Hey, we ate your world mine. Now, what do you want? Now, normally, our planet and our what we have in our level of an intellect is just for food, right? We don't provide anything for their culture, but by eating the world mine, and then they broker a deal, and they pass one of the intellects over to it, and it absorbs that intellect, and it says, okay, we're going to have a deal. I think, yes, it'll accept you into the world, the Phalanx, and then it will destroy your world. And they kill the Elder. They absorb the Elder immediately. And the librarian kind of goes into the preserve to talk about mutants, right? And in that preserve is where he meets Wolverine and Moria.
Yeah.
Now, he gets attacked, and we see the quickness and the mental acuity of this Elder, this librarian. And what we come to find out is that the librarian is human as
Post-human.
So what we call post-human, human novicium.
Yeah, something like that.
All right. So basically, we get it. We get a little postulate about how evolution works, right? So people evolve based on environment, and the environment in our life and world causes mutation and causes mutant to become the evolutionary superior of human. So the evolutionary hereditary, the next step in human evolution is going to be mutant. But if you take environment out of the equation, and you can evolve yourself any way you want to, and what we come to find out talking to Moria, now here's where a lot of theories come in, okay? Because the future can come in here. The librarian walks out, and he says, basically, he kind of gives them what happened. He said Sentinels were a distraction.
Yep. Gave us like a couple years.
Nimrod was another distraction. And what can you do? What can you do more? So what do you think that was? Do you think that was a villainous monologue? Or do you think he was actually literally trying to help them? Or what?
I think I'm going to lean towards monologue. Plus, it just helps explain the story a little bit more.
It does. It's a way for the writer to actually kind of pass along some information to us by doing a monologue. I have a theory.
I think it's one of those things where the librarian does not want humans to ever reach this point of ascension where they just don't exist anymore. But at the same time, they're not opposed to becoming outside of space and time.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I think he seemed hesitant on becoming part of this hive mind.
Yeah.
And that would mean the destruction of Earth. I don't think he wanted to see the mutants destroyed. I don't think he wanted to see everything that they built destroyed.
Yeah, no.
To ascend. I mean, ascension costs everything. So I don't think he wanted to do that. I think he was hesitant, and I think he basically was saying, hey, what can you do to fix this? And what Moria and McTaggart answers is, we always lose.
Yeah.
And I think that sealed the deal for them. That's it. he's made his choice. Because when she said we always lose, he's like, so there is nothing you can do.
There's nothing you can do.
So I might as well just do this because there's nothing you can do. And so what use is it? So I might as well go ahead and ascend and move on and not stay here and die with the rest of everything because you can't do anything. And if you start over again, it's just going to be the same thing. You didn't even realize who the bad guys were. And they missed it, and she missed it. So her mind kind of gets blown. And Wolverine, this is a really cool moment where he stabs the dude and like, fine, done, boom, it's claws to the face. But did he let Wolverine do that? Or did Wolverine catch him off guard? Or was he distracted?
I think it was, again, another one of those chances for them to do something. If they do something, it is likely for Moira to die at some point. If they do nothing, he'll ascend, and it's no skin off his back either way.
Yep, and I think he hesitated. What do you think, Ethan?
No. I'm gonna answer that later. Those chances to do something.
Yeah.
Referring to the chances that Destiny was talking about. Like if you do it right, you could have the 11th.
No, I mean, because this would have been 6.
Well, I think maybe if he was asking her, is there something that you can do if we kill you and let you go back and start over again? Is there something that you can do to make sure the world doesn't get destroyed by the Phalanx? And when she said we always lose, so basically it's like, so there is nothing you can do. I think that's what they're talking about. So you think Wolverine got the jump on him or not?
I think he purposely, the librarian purposely let his guard down. Either Wolverine does something, and then that leads to them doing something, and the mutants actually try something, or Wolverine does nothing, and they ascend. But either way, I think he let his guard down just in case Wolverine did something.
I think he was hesitant and distracted.
That's possible, but
and that Wolverine got the jump on him because I just like to think Wolverine's cool and awesome.
I also think the librarian has an affection for the mutants.
I think he does. I think it's like pets. I think he
spent his entire life cataloging all of their histories, their powers, their information, and cataloging that. He's taken the time to learn English so that way he can communicate with them.
And that's interesting because he wanted to specifically say we're going into English to make sure that the nuance of what I'm trying to say to you is caught. And that's what I think is he was trying to say. Is there a way that you can stop the world from being destroyed? You need to tell me, because if you can't, then I'm just going to go ahead and ascend.
Yeah.
But if you can, then I'll let you kill me. Or I'll let you kill. Then I'll kill you more, and we'll be on our way. But
I don't think Wolverine got the jump on him because he was talking and he was like, when your brain told your muscles to attack, I already had a countermeasure planned to ensure your failure.
Right. So the only way that you could beat him is by
him letting you.
No. The other way is he's focused on something else. He's calculating other probabilities out here that's keeping him distracted. So if he's calculating all the probabilities of what Moira can do if she comes back and could she do other, and he's focused on that. And he's also saying, hey, I'm going to send you to off-world because when the Phalanx destroys it, you would reset time. We can't let that happen. So we send you off. And then when the Phalanx gets to the stronghold and the information is then passed, it's now sitting outside of space and time, which means they now know about you and they cannot allow you to have power over them in any way. So they're going to, they're probably going to destroy her. I think he was in that mode of that thought mode where he was going all through these things. And then Wolverine kind of just done. I don't think Wolverine even acted aggressively. I think Wolverine was like standing there like, hey, nonchalant, hey, we're cool, dude. And then, hey, bud, hey, claws in the face. So,
I mean, if anyone would do it, it's Wolverine. He's that primal hunter, knows when to strike.
I mean, but again, he could have let him. I mean, he was, to me, hesitant. He did not really look like he wanted to have the world destroyed. He seemed like he was okay with Ascension, but not at the cost of everything.
I think like the original Gambit was to see, hey, look, can we get them to just take the robots to take our world mind and have all of our knowledge? Is that good enough?
Yeah, we can ascend in the sense of our minds are now
Yeah.
passed into this consciousness
And it was good enough, but they also want more.
at the cost.
I mean, especially considering,
Yeah,
Yeah,
to
just a little.
yeah. If you read them in order in the way the books are lined. Now, I was talking to Rod just earlier that I think the trade paperback, if you have them, read them in the order they're listed in the back of the book.
Yeah.
Because in this order, because that really does help figuring out what's going on with that. So it's in the back of the book, but otherwise, I think the trade paperback is actually going to allow you to read it in a chronological order as well. So it's going to actually switch things up so you can read it. So we're kind of reviewing it, theorizing in a chronological order of her life, because that's what kind of makes sense to me, and maybe these two as well. So that's how we did it this way. So it would make it a little bit easier for us to understand what was going on.
Yeah, instead of just reviewing it book by book, we're just going life by life.
Right. So, and then I think that they left that huge. I think Hickman left this huge plot thread out there.
Yeah,
Because he spent a lot of time on infographics talking about techno-arcs, world minds, on the line, and strongholds, dominions, the Phalanx, all these different technological societies, and all this information. And we get in the Sixth Life where we see that culminate into something, and then it's just gone. I think there's something there that we don't know about yet, that he set this thread out there to go, okay, well, we're going to revisit that. We'll get back to that.
Yeah, or it may just become like a big thing in a future X-Men comic where end of Moira 10's life. Let's push it forward 1,000 years. What happens?
And then boom, this happens, and but I mean, what makes me think of this? There's got that thread out there, right? The Phalanx and the Stronghold and Dominions, and then you have the Ninth Life, which we'll get to in a minute, where Nimrod's created, and we have humans trying to become machines again, and then we have in the 10th Life, we have Doug walking on Krakoa. And, I don't remember, if you remember Doug from New Mutants, Cypher fused with Warlock, which was a techno-arc. So he is a subclass or lower class of the Phalanx. So techno-arcs serve Phalanxes techno-arcs serve world minds serve Phalanxes serve Stronghold, or something like that.
If he was are we sure Warlock's a techno?
Yes, he is a techno-arc.
It wasn't said in here, was it?
No, it's set in New Mutants.
Okay. Yeah, technarchs are like tech arcs are like outside of it. They're made by phalanxes, but their whole job is to go, and they're attracted to places where
they're like the Herald of Galactus.
Essentially, like they're attracted. Well, they're like the person coming after Galactus. Well, no, they would. I guess they'd be close to Galactus. If the Herald deems the planet worthy, Galactus comes and eats it.
Right.
Well, the Technarch is the person who comes and eats and destroys this world if the Phalanx has decided it wasn't worthy. But the Technarch doesn't even know that's their job. They just do that naturally by instinct.
Right. It's just instinctive. They're like an animal. But the thing is, Doug is fused with Warlock.
Yeah.
He is half Technarch. And when they specifically show in the 10th Life, when he gets to the island, they show two panels clearly that he's touching plants, and they're changing into.
Speaking of, wouldn't that make him smarter than actually X cubed, where tech arcs are higher than world minds in terms of species intelligence?
We'd have to look at the infographic if you could find the infographic. Yeah. There's so many infographics in there. But that makes me wonder. Okay, there's this whole machine mind, world mind, Phalanx, Technarch concept that he's written into these stories that it'd be just to drop it in the 6th Life and then it's done. But then he points out again in the 10th Life. We see it in the 9th Life. It's okay. Something's still here. We just don't know where that's going yet. And I think it's going to come to a conclusion.
Probably in the future comics of X-Men, if anything. Not this one.
Are you looking through there to see if you can find the...
I'd imagine the powers, but...
Yeah, you can take them all out of the coverage. We can put them back in a minute. All right, so we got a lot of future theory there and plot strings that Hickman can pull. Now, it seems kind of odd. Okay, did any information get back to the stronghold in the black hole outside of space and time? I don't think they did. Could it have? Yes. Are we going to see the 10th life? Because all the other lives, we've seen the end of it. The 10th life, is it going to go out to 1,000 years into the future, and Moira is still alive, sitting in, because she's already passed her 13th, right? And she hasn't healed herself as far as we know. So if we get out to 1,000 years in the future, but she did that by basically her and Wolverine have the same blood type. And so they were able to using transfusions to actually create a longer life for Moira. So if we go out to 1,000 years again, and then suddenly the Fallon X now have the information, and then she dies, and then I don't know what the story, why it's out there, or will they show up sooner for some reason? I don't know.
Nope, Technarchs are dumber than
Dumber.
World Minds.
All right, so we have so here's the infographic. We got Technarchs, and then World Nines, then Phalanx. And then from there we go to Titan, Strongholds, and Dominions.
No, it does not. So it'd be an earlier comic.
And so, yeah, it's an earlier comic that actually talks about Technarchs. So that makes me wonder, is it still out there? Is there something still coming? All right. So she lived in her 6th life because she saw what happened with the Sentinels the first time when she was peaceful. She sees what happens with the Sentinel the second time when she was more radicalized. And then we get into the 6th life where they go and she's like, okay, all this is happening again. And she gets all the way to the end. So she's trying to figure out how to defeat Sentinels and to defeat Nimrods and etc. And she's all the way to the end to find out that the machines were never the problem. The problem has always been humanity fusing with machines. That's the real problem. And she comes to the conclusion that humans will never win. I think that breaks her. What do you think?
That mutants have always lost in every life. I don't know.
6 times now.
Yeah. I don't know if she's really broken yet. She's definitely far more.
Well, we see things happen.
Militarized.
7, 8, 9, and 10.
She's far more militarized, but even then, it's essentially she's become kind of a villain where we have to eliminate the humans.
What do you think, E?
Yeah, I think she broke a little earlier.
I think she breaks later with Apocalypse.
Well, I think it started downwards right before the start of 6.
Yeah, I mean, that's possible with the end of 5. I mean, she was killed twice by the Sentinels, right?
The complete break is with Apocalypse because that's when it's just killing everyone.
Well, I mean, in the end of 6, she says mutants never win, and then you see a drastic change.
Humans are the
in
problem.
What she does, right? Humans are the problem. Humans create Sentinels. Humans are the problem, and so she's going out to take care of that. All right, so then we get the 7th life. Now, in the 7th life, hey, old man, I have yet another child in.
Thank you.
Is it for me?
No, it's for me.
He's handing out money, and it's not for me.
Phalanx instead of Fallon X.
It depends on your pronunciation. I like Phalanx.
Phalanx.
I do. I don't know how the Romans pronounced it.
I'm pretty sure it's Phalanx.
I've always pronounced it Phalanx, but it's not a book thing. That is just how I've always heard it pronounced.
I mean, Fallon X may be a play on words, but
and it could be, but I always thought it was based off the whole Roman, the Phalanx, the where they go into the square and they march together and they're all in one accord, right? So I think that's coming from that, but I don't think there's actually a.
I like Phalanx.
He likes pronouncing things weirdly. That's his cup of tea.
We're gonna find out.
We're gonna Webster this sucker. All right, so Life 7, and it's really touching in a sense because she looks at Wolverine, and he's like, "You got everything you need," and she's like, "Yeah, I got it." And he goes, and she goes, "Don't make sure this is not painful."
Life 6 or
7.
Life 7?
Life 6.
Yeah.
Who said
I meant 6. End of Life 6. You know what I meant. in a life 6.
We may have.
I gotta find it real quick. And it's a beautiful thing. Phalanx.
Phalanx.
It's apparently Greek.
Phalanx. And
It's
actually,
not
it looks,
Roman.
Tacoma, it looks like you pronounce it better than we do.
I had it right.
Lanx, not links.
That's a thing.
And of course, you just look for the one that would pronounce it the same way as you.
Totally very much so.
So now you see, I mean, this is just, that's a beautiful shot, right? And the colors, how he does. This is the first time Wolverine actually kills her. And he goes, "Don't worry, darling, this is what I do." So she'll make it quick. "Don't worry, darling, this is what I do." And it's interesting that he does have the metal claws here, because he hasn't necessarily lived his 10th life yet. So we get into the 7th life, and to me, she's far more militarized. No. Tacoma, I can't pronounce anything. I can't spell anything. I butcher everybody's name. So I just take it as it comes because I know I probably pronounced it wrong. And I'll probably pronounce it incorrectly for the rest of the stream too, because it's just the way it goes with me.
This is why computers are the best invention. You just don't need to know how to spell it. It'll spell for you.
And this is why we all fuse with machines, and then
Yeah, exactly.
so we don't have to worry about that anymore.
That is why they evolved. They just didn't want to spell.
I don't want to spell. So yeah, and so in the 7th life, she becomes far more militarized. She actually joins the British Air Force.
Yeah.
She kills like all the Trasks. She feels like a supreme assassin. She kills all the Trasks. I mean,
Humans are the problem. Let's kill the humans. Specifically the ones that make the bots.
Yeah, so we see here that she kills Bolivar Trask, Donald Trask, Gwyneth Trask, Simon Trask. And then she dies when she finds a wild master mold facility. So even though she killed supposedly everybody that had anything to do with Sentinels and mother molds, there's still one out there that starts creating Sentinels. So,
Which I think the one she found was a mother mold.
right. So that was a mother mold, and it's still creating Sentinels.
Except the new Sentinels just look cooler.
She loses again, and then she dies. 49 years old, she's dead, starting all over again. Well, she realizes in her now we're in the 8th life.
The humans will eventually create robots at some point.
Yeah, there's going to be robots, and robots are, AI is going to find a way to produce itself, and you're going to get a mother mold, and down the line you go, right? So now we have life 8. She decides to join, and this is another one that goes up. By the way, I think specifically because this is another life that she is murdered by mutants involuntarily.
Then again, it could just
Giving us a hint to what's going to happen in 10, but we don't know because it's all.
Yeah, if you can find out what's the connection between 8 and 3, like the specific connection, then that's your clue for the end of 10.
Yes, but that would have to mean 6 goes down, which I think it does. I think it actually goes down. So, but that is my opinion. That
6 is the most pacifist out of all of them except for 1.
Right.
So
I believe in 10 she will be killed by a mutant involuntarily. Because other times she was killed by a mutant voluntarily, she actually chose to die. But I think it's coming. It's not there yet. We don't know anything, but I think it's coming. So
get to the end of 10. You need
in
to figure
8,
out.
that's right. We had to figure out what happened. But in 8, she joins Magneto, and basically we kind of get every storyline that had anything to do with Magneto kind of wraps up into this life. Asteroid M, you got House of M, all these different things, right? And then all the mutants come together and they take Magneto out. Magneto dies in the War of M, and Moria is in prison, and Moria dies in a failed escape from prison. So it doesn't specifically say that was mutants that killed her, but it did say mutants in the text.
And superheroes.
It says mutants and superheroes, and that Magneto was taken down by his own, which I would assume be mutants.
Wait, so she died in a failed prison escape, presuming it's not a mutant guard.
We don't know.
It's probably not a mutant guard.
It could have been mutants that were put in charge of them. Maybe. We don't know. But
all they know, she's a human.
No, they don't know. Oh. She was with Magneto.
Yeah, but she could just be a human with Magneto. She was
No.
a human.
They knew
Magneto
she-
hated humans.
Yeah, well,
they
at least
knew-
in this
she convinced him otherwise.
I wonder who should help you. All right, so then we get the Ninth Life.
Yeah.
And in the Ninth Life, she actually decides to join Apocalypse, right? And this again is covered over in Powers of X, and you see this as X2, 100 years into the future. And we got so much going on in this timeline. It's just crazy. Again, you have machines.
Yeah.
Again, you have not Nimrod. You have the Church of Ascension. You have humans wanting to become more robotic. You have all these things still happening, and they've got to figure out how to stop Nimrod. And so, but she joins with Apocalypse, and they have the Apocalypse War, and all this kind of stuff happens. They have Sinister who betrays them, and Sinister creates chimeras.
Which are one of my favorite things about this whole arc.
Here is one of the chimeras.
Two, well,
Two, three,
four.
A lot of chimeras. So, chimeras are basically genetically taking multiple mutants and putting them together into one body. And they have, like, Rasputin has Colossus and Kitty Pryde and Magic, and all these different mutants. They're fused together into one body. They all have all these kind of powers, right? So we have that happened in breeding pits, and he uses genetic code and all this kind of stuff to create these things. But they decide to go on with this lifespan. There's a lot of we're not dead air. I am just listening to people talking outside my door.
They're not very quiet at all.
They're not quiet at all.
Not at all.
Giggling and laughing, having just a great old time out there. But no, I have not figured it out yet. So, but yeah, so Moira gets injured. You have the Apocalypse has a horseman now. Wolverine's a horseman. The Zorn brothers a horseman. A chimera named North is a horseman, which is like a Frost and something mix, and then Krakoa is a horseman. Krakoa Cypher is a horseman.
Polaris, I think, maybe.
And so now they go against Nimrod. They're fighting Nimrod. Specifically, there's like very few mutants left on Earth. Now they're out in space.
Not even on Earth, in the solar
system, right? So Mars and asteroid, and everybody else is out in farther reaches, and it's like 120 years. I mean, it hasn't even been that long, and it was like we're out in outer space, and it's crazy. So they actually come back and they figure out. They get into the Nimrod files. They figure out where Nimrod's created, and they go and break into the facility, get the information, come back, give it to Moira, and then we have the whole Moira Wolverine scene all over again.
Yeah, Moira.
But this time, she says to him, "It's what you do."
It's what you do.
And I thought that was really cool. I
Call
don't
back for
I don't have the
something
book.
that happens in the future.
but it's a callback to her.
How is it a callback to something that happens in the future?
Because it's
It
our
happens in
future.
the past.
We haven't read it yet. It's our future.
So in current reading order, you'll read that first, and you'll be like, "Oh, that's cool." And then you'll read the Sixth Life later and go, "Oh, that actually happened first," where he says, "It's what I do." And then now you realize that the first one you read is actually the second time it happened, and that she was actually calling back to something that we haven't read yet that happens in the past future, and our future, not our past.
That wasn't confusing one bit.
If that's not confusing, I hope that's not confusing. I hope everybody here gets still with that and you're sticking with it. All right.
Which one had the timeline for Madison?
I don't remember. I have it here.
Oh, you do?
There.
Yeah, true. Which, there's a lot of interesting history for episode Life 9 as to what they did and the whole wars. Apocalypse essentially took over the world.
He did. He took over the world. The Black Brain Hounds were created. The fourth generation Sinister chimeras. the Four Horsemen die. The original Four Horsemen die.
Which
The collapse of Mars, asteroid K is established. Mutant exodus to Shire
can you go
space.
back a pic?
So let me share this with you guys so you can see what we're looking at here.
Yeah, like I mean, it's not until like year 56 that things start to fall apart. But even then, if it wasn't for Sinister, they'd still be doing pretty good.
Yes, Sinister betrayed them.
Mhm.
And that really caused a downfall, at least in this timeline. But again, it's only 123 years. It took 1,000 years in the sixth timeline before we get to a point that things, that she realizes, this is not going to end well. And, all Earth is destroyed. So, but the Chimeras, I think, is a great concept. I can't wait to actually.
I want to see them do something with that.
I do want to see them do something more with that. And that's what interesting about all these timelines as well, is that we have the ability now to have stories within all these different timelines. And we can actually see all the different things that are going on. And we can actually have stories in the first timeline, the fourth timeline, the sixth timeline, and the seventh timeline. And we can see all these different things going on. That'll be really pretty cool. And I think that's great. And I can't wait to see that. So then we get into the ninth timeline. We have the whole Wolverine thing again. And Wolverine kills Maria McTaggart and she dies. And then we get into the 10th timeline. Now, I have a feeling that we're probably going to have to delay the 10th timeline until next time.
Yeah.
Or do you want to just keep talking? We're already at an hour.
It's pretty straightforward for the 10th timeline.
All right, let's cover it real quick then. So we have the 10th timeline. In the 10th timeline, we have Moira comes back. She meets Xavier. She does the whole brain scan thing again. He kind of freaks out like, well, but now he does not have total recall of her brain. No. Which we find out. And that she's now feeding him information because she won't let him read her brain again. So she is now feeding him information of what happens as
how she perceived it.
Not just how she perceived it, what happened in all these different lives. She remembers, but he doesn't necessarily, he can't remember from what he read.
But I think working with Apocalypse for 100 years really changed her. And then she has taken all the information and history about Nimrods.
Working with Magneto changed her. Yeah. Working with Apocalypse changed her. And now she's here. She specifically says, you are the one guy who has not changed, Xavier. And I'm going to have to break you. All right. That's kind of scary to me. Okay. I've seen a lot of reviews and a lot of people talk about Xavier is not acting like Xavier.
No.
And the dream is dead. Okay. The dream was humans and mutant kind living together. And he's basically said the same thing. It's dead. And there's so many different tidbits in the 10th timeline that we could take another hour just talking about
it. But they've tried that, and it's just it didn't work any single time they tried to live together.
No, it's never worked. But that's always been the dream. That's always been what they fought for. Yep. And now it's gone. And now what is the dream? The dream. I mean, Magneto says in one of the earlier issues, humans need to realize that they have new gods.
Yeah,
that's the first book.
That's scary. You have. Where Xavier said, "Thank you for pushing that person." Yeah, yes, there's consequences on you, Frost, for doing that, but that's cool. And now they're handing out these drugs. Now I've heard somebody say, if mutants always lose, there has to be one. There's only one outcome they thought that would be feasible, and that's just killing all humans.
Yeah,
I think there's another possible outcome is not just killing all humans, but maybe using those drugs to either kill humans, but maybe force humans to evolve.
So I don't know, something. In this timeline, there was something I wanted to talk about, and it's specifically like House of X4, where they go to break down the Method Mold, right?
Yes. Which honestly was probably my favorite issue of this whole series.
Yeah, that was one of the coolest in the whole run. And through it all, like you just said, Magneto said humans have to know they have new gods now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which, if we take the analogy further, and they actually did take it further with the Sentinel head, right? The Master.
Yeah.
And he compares it to the Olympians in the story of the Olympians. If the humans were the Titans, for example, this group of humans would be Prometheus.
Okay.
And he specifically says that, and the X-Men are the Olympians. The whole story of Prometheus and the Olympians. Prometheans help the humans steal the fire from the gods. That way they can advance.
Yeah, and then Zeus got all mad.
Yeah, but the humans still advanced. If we take that analogy, the science branch here gave life to the Sentinels to help them advance and stole it from the mutants.
Yep.
So if that is to believe, and we still have Sentinels flying around, if that's to be believed, I don't think we're anywhere near done with the Master Mold.
No.
Not even close.
No, they can go and make the Master Mold again. I think all it was is a delay. So we know the Master Mold and Nimrod and Sentinels were all a delaying tactic of humans becoming a superior race. But I think that it was just, if they delayed by killing the Mother Mold, they just delayed the delay.
Yeah.
But they still, how do they win? And is winning worth the cost?
Well, even then, I even if the humans don't make it, the AI might just develop on its own now.
But they can kill Nimrod now.
Yeah, well, they can try.
They know how to stop it.
Yeah.
She has the data that she knows how to stop this thing. But when she got the data, and that was in the 9th life, and now they're in the 10th life. So she knows how to stop Nimrod. She's also radicalized and militarized. She also talks about breaking Xavier from being what he was, a good guy, and breaking his dream. We see Magneto saying these things. So if the only way that mutants can win is eliminating humans by killing them all, or making all humans mutants.
I don't know if they're gonna go, because it's such a weird one. Like Xavier Magneto took over the North America, right?
Yes.
Apocalypse took over most of the entire world, built new cities
And space.
and space and subjugated the humans, right? So I don't know how much further they want to go down the route of trying to kill all mutants, because not all humans. Because it did not work the last time.
Well, I don't think they killed all humans.
Yeah, they
just make
definitely
them
did.
subservient.
So
I don't know. But either way, either one of those paths is immoral. Can be considered immoral. Maybe there's another thing that they're planning to do, but they talk about something's coming. If they only knew what was coming, there's a whole scene where they're like, if they knew what we were planning, they would attack us now.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things in here that I'm like, the things they're saying and the way they're acting kind of goes down this path of black,
of mutants,
of the evil, right? Not sort of black, but evil, and the side of the dark side, right? So, it's not the light side that Xavier's always been at, where everything's good and cheery and we can be friends and we all live together. I mean, his whole speech I used to dream this way, and I used to think that we could live together in harmony, and I used to think all these things, but that is no more. You're going to accept as a state, and by doing that, we're going to give you these drugs. But what if the Marauders is specifically there to subvert? Maybe X-Force is specifically there to subvert the government, to make more mutants, or to kill. They did make the rule: don't kill humans.
Don't kill humans.
But they also made the rule: make more mutants.
I would not be surprised if they make humans mutants, or they
or change their offspring,
or expedite it, or
as they take the drugs, the baby's born, more mutants are born, and it escalates that what has been happening. I don't know. Maybe they're trying that. I don't know what's going to happen here, but it does seem like some things are kind of. And then the problem is, again, how long can they keep Moria alive, and can they still just turn off her? And are they keeping her alive until the point where they can turn her gene off, saying, "Hey, we've reached the goal"? Could they get 1,000 years into the future in this timeline, and then suddenly you have the Phalanx? Phalanx.
Phalanx.
That happens again. That idea, that thread that's out there, could come back into a being. I don't know. Then we get to the point where they go up in the 4th issue and they destroy the Mother Mold. One of the best comics I've read in a long time, and a favorite of this series. The whole conversation between Wolverine and Nightcrawler standing there before.
Yeah. I'm like that. I tried to lean on your chair and fell right there. That whole comic had such a great conversation, and they're all talking to each other. And that was like watching Scott just see them and say, "Do it. It has to be done.
Do it."
I'm just like, that's so powerful.
Oh, and more. M launches Jean Grey off.
Yeah.
Hey, comic man Andy, how you doing? What's this? Oh,
Even the cover
yes.
was great.
even the cover of this one was fantastic. And the story in here was just so good. And M launched Jean off into space, and she's like, I can't reach them. He goes, you're gonna have to do it on your own. And she turns around like, bring it, and she just takes on all the guards. The whole comic was just a fantastic read.
And then it's like Hickman just killed off all the
And then
others.
they're all dead. You know, I love it. You know, Nightcrawler launches Wolverine out there with him, and then Nightcrawler dies. Instant just evaporates, and you see him evaporate, and you see Wolverine hacking through this thing, and his body's just like, I mean, yeah, look at this, and his body is just evaporating. There we go. That's probably better. Look at that. That's just crazy. You know, that was crazy. I love that. And say that issue House of X4, probably the best issue I've read in a long time, and my favorite of this whole series. And then to watch Magneto or Professor X drop to his knees with tears in his eyes, you know, saying never or no more.
Yeah.
No more.
No more.
That was echoed like 3 or 4 times.
And then you have the whole back scene where they're talking about Genosha and all these, you know, the mutants dying, etc. Which brings up another whole point. They in the 10th timeline, they got Magneto on their side, and then it shows that Magneto somehow split. There's a schism. We were trying to figure out what that schism was, what caused that schism. And we can't figure it out. So we think most of the timeline of our comics occur in the 4th timeline.
Yeah. I think that's safe to say.
So in the 10th timeline, we don't know what may have happened that caused that schism. Moira says she pushed him a little bit to become a better man, and it caused a schism, and then he went back to Genosha, and then we have
but 10 is
the whole
still
Genosha tragedy.
10 is still pretty close to our timeline.
You can assume that some of the same things
Yeah.
occurred over and over again in those timelines, because we saw things that happened in the 6th timeline happens again in the 9th timeline. So we can assume that's going to happen again in the 10th timeline. So maybe some of the 4th stuff happened, but again, they weren't, you know, the whole Magneto, Moira, Professor X trinity of awesomeness. That didn't start now normally, because that didn't happen normally. And they go through this thing, and they had this schism, right? Now, I've also heard rumors that not rumors, but theories that Moira and Apocalypse had some sort of deal, and that she's coming back and doing things in agreement with what their plan was, and that she's going to bring him in on it, which is why he's there on the council now.
Which is super possible.
Which is very possible. And again, if my theory on the timelines are correct, that everything that goes up means Moira at some point is going to do something or push it to a point that she has to be taken care of. Now, then we go into taken care of by Wolverine again, which would be just...
Speaking of, I don't think it will be Xavier or Magneto. Because like that would take away all of what they've built. I think it's like they would want her to stay alive, just that way their stuff can stay alive.
Right. And there's some reason she doesn't want precogs.
Yep.
On Krakoa. She doesn't want Destiny brought back, but she wanted Mystique on the council. She wanted Apocalypse on the council. She wanted Sinister on the council. Now, she does say that they went to Sinister without her knowledge, which she did not like, and that chimeras were created earlier, which to me means we may be seeing chimeras coming around sooner rather than later.
Please.
And I like the ideas of the chimeras. This would be fantastic. The pacifist chimera is just...
That is so, like, Cardinals are a cool idea. And because they're Omega level mutants. They took more than, I think, one Omega level mutant power. So, but they're pacifists. Like those percentages of them are pacifist.
That so many storylines there is going to be great. And then so what's going to happen with Moira? What is she doing? What are the drugs going to do? Who's the Red King going to be? There's a lot of different things in here that we can come up with theories for, but how is Namor going to fit into this? They wrote him in with an idea that talked about him, and how is he going to fit into all this? It is something going to happen that's going to be catastrophic, and that's going to cause everything to go reset again. And then how they stop it from going to a 12th life?
Eventually, probably.
You know, what is going to precipitate that? Is it the phalanx? I'm just going to point to you. Is it the
phalanx?
Yes, that causes this
Phalanx.
phalanx. that's how I say it, Phalanx. Is going to cause this thing, or is it Wolverine? I mean, I don't know. There's just so much there. So they got the drugs going out. We're going to have all these new books coming up. We got X-Force, which to me, they talk about a group that's going to. All right, I forgot. There's one thing we have not talked about yet. Resurrections.
Yeah.
There's 5 mutants that now can resurrect anybody at any time. We have Gold Balls, a Bendis creation that had no purpose. He has now been given a purpose by Hickman. Thank you, Mr. Hickman.
Yeah, that's probably one of the better things Hickman has done is taking characters that have no point.
Just give them a purpose.
I made fun of this dude on Twitter just like 2 weeks before this comic came out. I'm like,
Yeah.
he actually has a reason to exist now. He's not just Gold Balls. So Gold Balls, we have Elixir, we have Tempest, we have Proteus. Hey, see you later, Comic Book Kenny. Thanks for joining us, man. Enjoy dinner. So all these guys have a reason to exist, and they're now creating these. They're resurrecting all the mutants. And part of this, Cerebro was redone by Forge and others to actually cause mental backups of every mutant in existence. And the plan is to bring back all these mutants that existed at some point.
Sounds like the plot of a movie.
And rebuild it. But so people think it takes away from the risks into the comic, the stakes, right? I think there's a lot of stakes here still. If one of the 5 go, it's done.
It's different stakes. Like, yeah, if any of the people do die, great, but they'll probably come back. But the stake
They can't.
But the stake is, it doesn't matter if they do die. It's more of, can we find out if they actually died? Can we did the villain get to do their plan?
Well, we're getting to that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the stakes for the good guys, well, the X-Men right now, the good guys, there's no risk in a sense. If they die, they come back. But I think they're changing the focus of that risk from, okay, we got to protect these 5. We got to protect the Krakoa resurrection machine.
Yeah.
We got to protect Xavier and the backups.
Mm-hmm.
What if somebody tweaks the backup and changes the mutant?
Yeah.
And they talk about this. What if we put the wrong brain in the wrong body? What if we put multiple brains in a body?
Which,
they reference these things that they're saying it has been done, has been tried, but they think this, they think that. What if it creates a new villain that's like crazy, but it has multiple powers? There's things that could happen here we now have stakes that's over and above just dying and coming back. There's new stakes.
Failure.
Can we succeed? Then we talk about a force that goes out and says, hey, is this person really dead? And investigate. Now, this is one of those comic stories that I would really love to see is a mutant investigative team that investigates murders.
Which that might be like Fallen Angels or something.
That's something. Either Fallen Angels, I think X-Force has a way of kind of fitting that bill too. Marauders is the ones that are going in with the drugs and bringing mutants out, rescuing mutants. You have X-Men and Excalibur, I think, is going to be more of a dimensional.
I think, probably Excalibur will be more space. I don't know.
No, New Mutants are supposed to go to space
okay.
and get. They're supposed, I think, cannonballs in space or something like that. So they're all going to be different places, and it's going to be some interesting reads and stories. But I have a feeling that the current Phase 1, Phase 2 is going to culminate with Moira doing something with Xavier that, hey, as he collects, Moira doing something that is beyond something that she shouldn't be doing, and now we're going to have a Avengers X-Men crossover where the X-Men have crossed that line of what's moral and immoral, and they're going to come up, and then Moira dies or something happens, and we start all over again, and then we carry on with
I think we could definitely see
everything
that,
reset.
where the different teams, and this might be an event far in the future, where the different teams decide, hey, look, you've gone too far. But at the same time,
So, what do you think of Mutant Civil War?
not a Mutant Civil War. I think more of a Hero Civil War.
So you think Avengers, Fantastic Four, all coming up against the X-Men, kind of like an Onslaught thing?
You know what it might be is if they're trying to pull mutants out of different places. Let's say they go after Franklin Richards.
Yes, which is interesting because now you have Magneto and Professor X. They go after Franklin Richards. Now, I don't remember if you all remember the Onslaught But Onslaught was where the mind of Magneto gets merged with the mind of Xavier. Again, remember we just talked about risks. What if somehow the backup of Magneto
Mm-hmm.
and the backup of Xavier gets put into the husk of Proteus? And that thing goes and finds Richards. What if Moira does it on purpose? And now we have Onslaught all over again.
Yeah.
And so there's some crazy stuff that could be happening. But I think at some point we're going to have a shift back to, okay, we're all old history has been retrofitted into these timelines. And everything going forward is going to be the 11th timeline. But we're back to the dream. I think that could happen.
I think that's likely to happen, but it's years out, if anything.
What do you think, E?
It is possible. It's even possible that Moira is not the one who does it. Puts Xavier and
It's true. It could have been
Magneto
Xavier.
in the same body.
We also see that Xavier had 2 mind resets. Why? I don't know. We see Proteus is rebuilt every day from Xavier's backup.
Yeah.
What if, for some reason, they don't have, they can't get, and they also backups. They specifically say that if there's a differential backup, they have to have 3 hours, and then there's a yearly backup that he can't be interrupted on. What happens if he is interrupted? There's a lot of different stories here that we just don't know the answers for. There's a lot of questions. Is Moira going to be bad? Are we going to go revert back? I have to believe I think that is Xavier. I really do think it's Xavier. I think it's a broken Xavier. And I don't think a lot of fans are going to be super, super excited about that going forward. If that stays the status quo. I think we got a good couple years. I think we're going to have a big crossover event.
Yeah.
And
then it's going to go back to Xavier being
his
dreamful self.
Back to his dreamful self.
Probably with somebody who can travel through time threatening Moira.
That's also interesting. That we haven't really seen a lot of the time travelers.
Mm-hmm.
Bishop is there, and then we see young Cable is going to be on Fallen Angels. And then Bishop is said to be a captain of forces.
Which this Cable is time accurate, like from when he was born, right? Or would he be still too young?
He's young. He's 15 or something, like 16 years old. He's young.
That's near,
or maybe 20. He's not that old. So we don't. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. But that's I mean, we could spend a lot of time on 10th Life, but we're not. I think we covered most of it. We got a lot of theories. We're gonna have a lot of conversations. Now, next Sunday we've got some comic haul that we need to go over because I have something like 600 comics over here that I need to flip through.
U-Haul.
Yes, exactly. And we're probably going to have this kind of review that we're going to go over Executioner songs. So that will be next Sunday. Thank you everybody for joining us. If you liked this, please like and subscribe. And as soon as the video is up, if you'd like to rewatch it, that'd be great. And we'd appreciate it.
If you haven't read the series already, get it. It's a good series.
It is definitely. I think this is going to be a series I'm going to have in the long box and pull out all the time. And I'm probably going to end up buying the trade paperback as well digitally, so because there's supposed to be a special function. We'll see. But it's something I'm going to end up reading over and over again. To me, probably one of the best X-Men series that we've had.
What do you think? What did you take away as the best part of it? This run of it? What was it? Why was it the best for you?
To me, it was the best because. One of the best runs because of just the whole unexpectedness of it.
Yeah.
Right. So it was just off the wall. It was from left field. I wasn't expecting that. It was totally different. The art and the colors have been fantastic, and the writing kept me guessing. Okay.
I think that's one of the
part
big things is it was written in a way for fans to guess or to try to figure out or to look forward to the next week for the big answer.
Yes.
And to theorize and speculate about.
What about you, E?
See, I like that part, yeah, but I really enjoyed the world building, how he kept everything in order, how there wasn't very many discrepancies between the lives, where in one book and to another, where everything was still on that timeline. He had the timeline before he started writing everything.
Yes, and I think it was really cool too because there's a lot of homage paid.
To different arcs.
To different arcs, to different stories, to different creators that were out there, different pieces, different things. It all kind of had all these homages to and referencing this and pulling things in and giving nods. I don't like Sinister. I want Sinister to become Sinister again. because the Sinister that is Kieran Gillen's Sinister and this Sinister is not the Sinister. It needs to be the real Sinister.
I think you said more Sinisters this time than you did in your video.
Hey,
I don't like the Sinister.
song. You get some more Sinister.
I don't like the Sinister. And that Sinister is a good Sinister.
Yeah.
This Sinister is not the good Sinister. So, but yeah, there's going to be a lot of different pieces. And I think that to me was one of the best things is all the homages to it. The arts and the colors were fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
The story kept me guessing, and I wanted to read the next issue.
Yeah.
I couldn't wait for the next issue. I wanted to review it. It wasn't like, oh, okay, this is cool. It's okay. No, this was fantastic. And it kept me guessing. The cliffhangers, issue 4 is one of the best comics I've read in a long time. And there's been many times I'm like, oh, what? No. I was like, what? Huh? That happened to me several times during reading this, and I had to read it again, and I had to read it again and go, okay. Then I'm going, hey, you need to read this.
Yeah.
And then I got issue 6, Powers of X, and I'm like, you need to read this. And he's like, oh, I'll read it in a minute. No, dude, read it now. I need to talk about it. So that's the kind of stuff that excites me about comics. And I think Marvel still hasn't figured out why it's successful either. It's fantastic. I mean, and that they need to do more of this. Not 12 weeks straight of comics, but a good story with good art that keeps you interested. That's what we need. So I think that's it, guys. You have anything else you want to add?
The only way-
I'm actually looking forward to seeing new X-Men comics, and where they can go with it is great.
Yes.
It's been left in a place where you can go pretty much anywhere.
I was kind of leery about 6 comics or 6 new issues or whatever it was. I was like, but I'm going to give them all a try, and we'll see. What about you?
The only way they could have made it better is one of the only ways they could have made it better is making it one run, not 2 different series.
I like the 2 different series.
We have contention. Fight!
Conflict.
All right, guys, we appreciate it. I thank you for joining us on this live stream of House of X, Powers of X review and theory, and lots of theories. And we still have lots of theories and really no answers. But fantastic run. If you haven't bought it, you need to go get it. Specifically, Rod, if you're watching this again, go get the trade paperback. But if you enjoyed this, guys, please like and subscribe, and we'll see you here next time in the Long Box.
Thanks, guys. See ya.